There comes a time in every person's journey when God whispers, "Be still," not because nothing is happening, but because something is being formed in silence that noise could never produce. Most people miss this stage. They want recognition before they've earned revelation. They want applause before they've learned alignment. But hear me clearly, elevation doesn't come from exposure. It comes from obedience. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you create space for God to work publicly on what you have been developing privately. The reason many people never reach their divine potential is because they are addicted to validation. They want to be seen before they are seasoned. They want to speak before they have something worth saying. They don't understand that silence is not punishment, it's preparation. The seed doesn't make noise while it grows. It doesn't announce its progress. It simply allows the soil to do what the soil was designed to do. When you learn to trust your season of silence, you will begin to understand that God is not ignoring you. He's incubating you. When Joseph was thrown into the pit, he didn't fight for attention. When he was sold into slavery, he didn't plead for a platform. When he was thrown into prison, he didn't start a campaign to clear his name. He stayed faithful, focused, and silent. And in the fullness of time, God elevated him from the pit to the palace. You see, when your preparation meets divine timing, no man, no system, no demon in hell can stop your elevation. That's why your focus must remain on your own growth, not on what they're saying about you, not on who's ignoring you, not on who got promoted before you, because the same people who laughed at your silence will have to applaud your elevation. Focus is a weapon in the hands of the disciplined. The enemy doesn't fear your talent, he fears your focus. Because a focused mind is a dangerous mind. A focused person becomes unstoppable. When you stop chasing distractions and start cultivating discipline, God can trust you with dimensions you couldn't handle before. You want God to elevate you? Then show him you can handle obscurity without complaining. Show him you can serve when no one is clapping. Show him you can stay consistent when no one is watching. That's how the anointing increases, through faithful focus in seasons of silence. The people who reach the highest levels in life are not the loudest. They are the most intentional. They know that talking about progress is not the same as making progress. They understand that every word spoken out of season delays destiny. So they choose silence, not because they are weak, but because they are wise. There's power in restraint. There's favor in patience. There's acceleration in stillness. Because when you quiet your mouth, you amplify your hearing. You begin to hear what others miss, the instructions, the strategies, the divine timing. When you focus on yourself, you stop fighting for attention and start building capacity. You stop competing with others and start collaborating with purpose. You stop explaining your vision to people who don't have the faith to understand it. Silence becomes your sanctuary. Focus becomes your fortress. You begin to move differently, not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. You realize that not everyone deserves access to your process. Some people only show up to critique your construction. They can't see the foundation, so they assume there's no progress. Let them assume. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand you. While they gossip, you grow. While they post, you prepare. While they shout, you sharpen. And when the appointed time comes, your results will speak louder than your rebuttals ever could. There's something divine about silence that the modern world has forgotten. We've mistaken visibility for value. We think if people can't see us, we're not succeeding. But God often hides those He's about to highlight. When He was preparing Moses, He sent him to the wilderness. When He was preparing David, He sent him to the field. When He was preparing Elijah, He sent him to the brook. Every great elevation began with divine isolation. The silence wasn't rejection, it was refinement. God was shaping their character to match their calling. He was removing the noise of public opinion so they could hear His voice clearly. You cannot be transformed in a crowd. Transformation happens in the quiet corners of commitment. When nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping, when nobody even believes in you, but you keep believing anyway. You have to learn to build when no one cares, to pray when no one is listening, to study when no one is cheering, because when your private discipline becomes consistent, your public destiny becomes inevitable. The world celebrates results, but God celebrates roots, and roots grow in silence. There's a story about a bamboo tree. When it's first planted, it shows no visible growth for the first few years. People walk by and think it's dead. But beneath the surface, the roots are spreading, strengthening, deepening. Then suddenly, in one season, it shoots up several feet almost overnight. What looks like overnight success is actually years of underground work. That's what happens when you focus on yourself and stay silent. You may look invisible now, but your roots are growing. You may look overlooked now, but your foundation is being fortified. And when your time comes, you won't just rise, you'll tower. Stop trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Your energy is too precious to waste on explanations. God didn't call you to defend yourself. He called you to develop yourself. The ones who gossip about you now will be forced to witness your glory later, but only if you refuse to get distracted. Focus requires sacrifice. It means saying no to certain conversations, no to certain people, no to certain pleasures, because what you're building demands concentration. You can't walk into your next level carrying the noise of this one. When you stay silent, you give God room to speak. When you stop defending yourself, you give God room to vindicate you. And when you stop chasing attention, you give God permission to reveal you in his timing. That's the key, his timing, not yours. Too many people abort their destiny because they couldn't wait in the dark. They wanted to skip the process and showcase the promise, but anything that grows too fast without foundation will collapse under its own weight. The weight of elevation requires the strength of preparation. The truth is, silence exposes what's real inside of you. It shows whether your motivation is validation or transformation. If you can't work when no one is watching, you're not ready for a platform. If you can't worship when no one is clapping, you're not ready for promotion, because God promotes faithfulness, not performance. He looks at how you handle obscurity to determine if you can handle opportunity. Can you still give excellence in private? Can you still walk in integrity when no one will notice? Can you still show up with passion when no one is cheering? That's the kind of heart God elevates. Don't mistake silence for stagnation. You may not see results yet, but something is shifting. Your consistency is planting seeds in the soil of time, and in due season, what you planted in tears will be harvested in triumph. Keep doing the work. Keep showing up. Keep becoming while others are distracted by comparison. Stay focused on construction. Comparison kills creativity. You cannot build your lane while staring at someone else's. Focus on your race, your growth, your assignment. God has a unique elevation designed just for you, but he won't release it until you can be trusted not to sabotage it. There's a divine principle you must never forget. God hides greatness in places the world overlooks. Jesus was born in a manger, not a mansion. David was anointed in the field, not the throne room. Gideon was called while hiding in fear. The woman who changed history was found praying in silence. So never despise your quiet season. Never curse your hidden place. That's where giants are formed. That's where leaders are molded. That's where vision is clarified. Sometimes silence is the loudest statement you can make. You don't have to respond to every insult. You don't have to explain every move. Let your fruit speak for itself. When people see your peace in the middle of chaos, they'll know you've been with God. When they see your focus in the face of distraction, they'll know you've been trained in stillness. You don't need to shout your destiny, you need to live it. Because when God elevates you, the same mouths that doubted you will declare your victory. Don't underestimate the power of staying silent while God fights for you. Every time you choose peace over pettiness, heaven takes notice. Every time you choose focus over frustration, you increase in favor. Every time you choose discipline over drama, you move closer to your destiny. Silence is not weakness, it's warfare. It's how you preserve your energy for the battles that actually matter. When you focus on yourself, you begin to realize that elevation isn't a reward. It's a responsibility. God doesn't lift you up to be seen. He lifts you up to serve. So don't chase platforms, chase purpose. Don't pursue applause, pursue alignment. Because true elevation comes when your character can carry what your calling demands. You don't rise by luck, you rise by law. The law of focus, the law of faithfulness, the law of divine timing. And understand this, your silence will confuse your enemies. They expect you to react. They expect you to defend. But when you stay calm, when you stay focused, when you refuse to come down to their level, you disarm them completely. Because your peace is proof of your power. Let them talk. You're too busy transforming. Let them gossip. You're too grounded in growth. Let them compete. You're too committed to your calling. You're not in this world to prove anything to anyone. You are here to become everything God placed inside of you. And that process requires silence. Growth doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like late nights of work that no one acknowledges. Sometimes it looks like seasons of pruning that feel painful but are necessary. Sometimes it looks like separation from people you thought would walk with you forever. But if God allowed it, it's not a loss, it's a lesson. Every cutback is clearing space for new fruit. Every closed door is redirecting you toward destiny. Every quiet moment is training your spirit to hear divine instruction. So focus. Focus on your discipline. Focus on your development. Focus on your destiny. Stop scrolling and start studying. Stop talking and start transforming. Stop chasing and start creating. You are not behind, you are being built. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. And when the time is right, God himself will put your name in rooms you've never entered. He will send your work before kings and open doors. No man can close, but he won't do it until you've mastered the art of silence and the strength of self-focus. So in this season, protect your peace, guard your growth, and trust God's pace. Don't rush what's being refined. Don't fight what's forming you, because soon the same people who doubted your silence will witness your elevation. And when God elevates you, no one will be able to say they made it happen. It will be undeniable that the hand of heaven was on your life. Focus on yourself and stay silent. Let your results make the announcement. Let your character do the talking. Let your discipline preach the sermon. The same God who saw you in the dark is about to showcase you in the light. Your silence has not gone unnoticed. Your obedience has not been in vain. Your elevation is already written. It's just waiting for your readiness to align with his timing. So keep building. Keep believing. Keep becoming. Because when God elevates you, it won't just be promotion. It will be proof that silence and focus were never signs of weakness, but the secret of divine strength. Elevation doesn't begin on the stage. It begins in the shadows. The shadows where nobody claps for you. The shadows where your ideas sound crazy. The shadows where you wrestle with self-doubt and discipline, and nobody but God sees the tears you wipe before you go back to work. That's where true greatness is forged. The most dangerous version of you is the one that learned how to grow in silence, to grind without applause, to pray without performance, and to move without permission. That version is unstoppable because it's anchored in something deeper than validation. It's anchored in vision. There's something sacred about silence when you understand it. The silence between where you are and where you're going is where transformation happens. Most people can't sit in it because silence exposes them. When there's no one around to impress, you're forced to face the truth of who you really are. You can't hide behind status, applause, or noise. It's just you, your thoughts, and God. That's when you start dealing with the habits that hinder you, the mindset that limits you, and the wounds you've been avoiding. Silence is not empty. It's full of revelation if you're willing to listen. You see, when you stay silent, you don't stop talking. You just change who you talk to. You stop explaining yourself to people who can't understand your journey, and you start having conversations with God about the next chapter of your destiny. When others are arguing about what they deserve, you're praying about what you're becoming. When others are trying to prove they're important, you're working on becoming impactful. The silence separates the ones who need attention from the ones who want transformation. You'll know you've matured when you stop trying to correct everyone's misunderstanding of you. Let them misinterpret your silence. Let them say you've changed. Let them think you're distant, because they're right. You have changed. You've grown. You've outgrown gossip, outgrown complaining, outgrown circles that celebrate mediocrity. The more you focus on your purpose, the less room you have for pettiness. That's why God sometimes isolates you. Not because he's punishing you, but because he's protecting you. Some people can't go where you're going. Their noise would distort your next instruction. Their drama would distract your development. So God hides you while he heals you, then reveals you when you're whole. When you focus on yourself, you start realizing how much time you used to waste reacting to things that didn't matter. Every response costs energy. Every argument drains purpose. Every distraction delays destiny. The reason some people feel stuck is because they keep investing energy into things that don't bring them closer to their assignment. Focus is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. And in your journey, the most powerful thing you can do is master yourself. Master your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions. When you can govern yourself, you become unshakable. There's a spiritual principle most people overlook. God will not promote you publicly until you can manage yourself privately. Before he gives you influence, he gives you isolation. Before he trusts you with impact, he tests you with invisibility. Because if you can't stay faithful when no one notices, you won't stay humble when everyone knows your name. Silence teaches humility. It breaks your dependence on external approval. It forces you to find satisfaction in obedience instead of attention. Some of you are frustrated because it feels like nobody sees you. You're doing the work, you're praying, you're believing, but nothing seems to move. What if I told you the delay is not denial, it's divine development? God is building endurance in your spirit. He's strengthening your patience. He's purifying your motives. He's not just preparing a blessing for you. He's preparing you for the blessing. Because premature elevation destroys what patience could have developed. Think about it. If Joseph had been released from prison 1 year too early, he would have missed Pharaoh's dream. If David had forced his way to the throne before his time, he would have ruled with immaturity. If Jesus had revealed himself before 30, the people wouldn't have been ready for the revelation. Timing is everything, and divine timing always includes seasons of silence. You can't skip the silence and expect to carry the glory. Silence is your spiritual gym. It strengthens the muscles that will carry your next level. It teaches you to operate without applause. It builds your ability to hear God over the noise of the world. The more you practice silence, the sharper your discernment becomes. You start seeing things before they manifest. You start feeling shifts before they happen. Because silence is the training ground of the spiritually mature. The loud are often lost. The focused are found. You must also understand that not everyone will celebrate your silence. Some people feel threatened by your peace. Your stillness reminds them of their chaos. Your discipline exposes their excuses. They will call you distant, arrogant, or secretive, not realizing that you've simply chosen to protect your peace. Don't let guilt pull you back into noise you've outgrown. Protecting your focus is not selfish, it's stewardship. You can't pour into others if you're constantly drained. You can't lead effectively if your mind is constantly cluttered. Sometimes silence is the only way to reset your spirit and realign with purpose. When you focus on yourself, you also learn to let go of outcomes. You stop trying to control every result and start trusting divine process. You realize that what's for you cannot be stolen, and what's not for you will never fit. That revelation brings rest. You stop forcing relationships that drain you. You stop chasing opportunities that compromise your values. You stop worrying about doors that closed because you understand the one who closed them knows what's behind them. Focus frees you from frustration because you're no longer driven by ego, you're led by assignment. And here's the truth. Focus and silence don't just change what you achieve, they change who you become. They refine your spirit. They teach you contentment. They show you that elevation isn't about being better than others. It's about becoming better than your old self. God doesn't elevate you to impress people. He elevates you to impact people. But he can't use a noisy soul. That's why he quiets you before he crowns you. There's a certain kind of strength that can only be developed in solitude. When no one is clapping, but you keep going. When no one says thank you, but you still serve. When no one sees your tears, but you keep showing up with excellence. That's when heaven starts taking notes. Because God doesn't promote talent. He promotes trust. He's watching how you handle small assignments. He's listening to how you speak when you think no one hears. He's observing how you react when overlooked. And when he sees you remain faithful in the shadows, he prepares to spotlight your life in ways you couldn't imagine. Focus also demands that you stop comparing your process to someone else's. You can't focus forward while looking sideways. Comparison is the enemy of contentment. The reason many lose peace is because they measure their progress by someone else's timeline, but you don't know what season they're in. You don't know what price they paid. You don't know what assignment they carry. God's process is custom made. Stop rushing your development because you're comparing your chapter 2 to someone's chapter 12. The longer the preparation, the greater the elevation. You're not behind, you're being built. Sometimes God slows you down not to punish you, but to synchronize you. He's aligning the right people, the right timing, and the right opportunities. But if you keep forcing things, you'll end up outside his plan trying to make noise in a season meant for silence. You can't hurry divine order. If you plant a seed today, shouting at it tomorrow won't make it grow faster. Growth happens quietly. Breakthrough begins beneath the surface. The roots must establish before the fruit can emerge. When God finally elevates you, it won't just be for show. It will be for service. You will look back and understand why he had to hide you. You'll thank him for every season of silence that kept you grounded when pride tried to take over, because silence humbles you, and humility is the gateway to sustained elevation. God doesn't just want to lift you, he wants to keep you lifted. And the only way to stay elevated is to stay grounded in the disciplines that got you there. Focus, faith, and silence. Some people think being quiet is passive, but silence can be the loudest declaration of faith. It says, God, I trust you enough not to panic. It says, I don't need to defend myself. You'll defend me. It says, I'm not trying to prove I'm strong because I know you are. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you release God to move in ways your words never could. The battle isn't yours, it's the Lord's. But he can't fight while you're trying to prove your point. Sometimes the greatest demonstration of power is to stay still and let God show who's really in control. Silence also separates the real from the fake. When you stop talking about what you're going to do and start quietly doing it, the pretenders fall away. Because talkers need an audience. Builders need a vision. Talkers crave attention. Builders crave completion. Talkers announce goals. Builders achieve them. You'll know you're growing when you no longer feel the urge to broadcast every move. Real growth needs no announcement. It produces evidence. Focus on your craft. Focus on your mindset. Focus on your spirit. Every day you sharpen yourself. You're increasing your capacity for elevation. You can't pour from an empty vessel. Fill yourself with wisdom, discipline, and faith. Invest in becoming the person who can handle what you're asking for. Don't just pray for the platform, prepare for the pressure that comes with it. Don't just desire the crown, develop the character that can carry it. And remember, God's elevation doesn't always look like man's. Sometimes he elevates you by removing you, by pulling you out of places that no longer serve your growth, by closing doors you thought were opportunities but were actually traps. Sometimes elevation is subtraction before it's addition. Don't fight the pruning. It's proof that you're fruitful. Only trees bearing fruit get pruned. God cuts you because he sees more in you. He cuts away distraction, immaturity, and dependency so that when he lifts you, you'll be lighter, stronger, and wiser. Every person who ever walked in divine greatness had to master this law. Focus and silence precede glory. Noah built in silence while others mocked. Abraham believed in silence while others doubted. Ruth followed in silence while others quit. Jesus prepared in silence for 30 years before his 3 years of ministry changed the world. If the Son of God himself valued focus and silence before elevation, how much more should we? The truth is, if you can't be silent in the season of planting, you're not ready for the season of harvest, because success brings noise. Elevation brings exposure, and exposure magnifies whatever was already in you. If you're insecure in silence, you'll be arrogant in success. If you're ungrateful in the shadows, you'll be entitled in the spotlight. Silence is the classroom where humility, patience, and gratitude are taught. Don't skip class. So keep your eyes on your own assignment. Keep your energy on your own evolution. Every time you're tempted to explain yourself, remember results speak louder than defense. Every time you want to respond to critics, remind yourself your destiny doesn't require their approval. Every time you feel overlooked, say to yourself, I'm not overlooked, I'm being observed by heaven. Because when the time comes, your obedience will echo louder than any argument. You don't need to announce when God is moving. He will make sure the right people see you when the season shifts. Until then, focus, build, grow, refine, stay silent, and let your silence become sacred ground where destiny is being birthed. The world may not see it now, but soon they will. And when they do, you won't have to say a word. Your elevation will speak for itself. So hear me clearly. This is not the season to prove. It's the season to prepare. This is not the time to talk. It's the time to transform. You don't have to announce what God is doing. You just have to align with it. Stay faithful in the quiet. Keep building when it feels slow. Keep believing when it feels small. Because one day the same silence that tested you will become the platform that introduces you. The same people who question your stillness will witness your rise. And when God lifts you, it won't be a gentle nudge. It will be undeniable, unstoppable, unexplainable favor. So stay focused, stay silent, stay faithful, and watch how the hand of God turns your hidden season into a headline of glory. Your silence is not the end of your story. It's the setup for your elevation.